virtual. We are mixing oil and water. We have real racing drivers, we have sim racing drivers, we have virtual racing cars, we have real racing, and we have real traffic problems even in a 1/3 busy pit lane. There you go, there's contact, the Malaysian car and the number 20 car. And one of the things that happens every year at Le Mans is there is a concert in the evening. Well, the concert in this year's Le Mans will be coming up shortly. The Avenir is going to be playing for us for a little over half an hour as we head up towards midnight. Don't forget, wherever you are watching, you can join us for commentary throughout the rest of the race. We will be on your TV station. We will be on the FIA World Endurance and the ACO websites. We will be on numerous Teams, Twitch and Twitter streams. We'll be on Facebook Live. We'll probably be on Instagram Live from countless drivers, sim and real, and we will be live on YouTube. But for a little bit of rest from my voice, if nothing else, we're going to join the Avenir shortly for this evening's concert. We will be back before midnight to bring the commentary and the rest of the racing through the night. We will keep tabs on what's going on. You will miss nothing, but for those of you who've been pinned to your monitors, to your game display, to your sofa, to your television, to your laptop, to your pad, to your phone, a chance for a little bit of a rest and some much needed sustenance.
Do you want to live a little longer? Do you have to feel a little stronger? Tell me what you want. Tell me what you want. Is it me? Is it you? Tell me what I have to do. Oh, I've been battling in vain. I've been hitting off the palm of your hand. There's one thing to understand. Trust in me, trust in you. Tell me something that is true. Oh, late night dreaming, bright lights keeping me up. My mind's awake, my mind's awake. Late night dreaming, bright lights keeping me up. But I'll ask you, what do you want to wear with me? Till we see the morning light, what do you want to wear with me? Till we hit the end of time, what do you want to wear with me? Oh, I'll ask you, what do you want to wear with me? What do you want to wear with me? I don't want to wait until I die. We could be that way, open with fire. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you want. Trust in me, I trust in you. Tell me something that is true. Oh, rain is falling on our bed. Is our story coming to a bad end? There's one thing that I demand. Trust in me, I trust in you. In the dark, we could be something. Late night dreaming, bright lights keeping me up. My mind's awake, my mind's awake. Late night dreaming, bright lights keeping me up. But I'll ask you, what do you want to wear with me? Till we see the morning light, what do you want to wear with me? Till we hit the end of time, what do you want to wear with me? Hi everyone, my name is Manu Lanvin, like the fine French chocolate. And I love you with my good friend, Tristan Cazara, the Avenir. Enjoy!
I'm giving you a night call, tell you how I feel. I want to drive you through the night, down the hills. I gotta tell you something you don't want to hear. I'm gonna show you where it's dark, but have no fear.
There's something inside you. It's hard to explain. They're talking about you, boy, but you're still the same. There's something inside you. There's something inside you. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain.
It's everywhere I look, from Las Vegas to right here, under your dresser, right by your ear. It's creeping in sweetly, it's definitely here. There's nothing more deadly than a slow-growing fear. Life was full and fruitful and you could take a real bite. The juice pouring well over your skin's delight. But the shadow it grows and takes the depth away, leaving broken down pieces to this priceless ballet. The shallower it grows, the shallower it grows, the fainter we go into the fade out line. The shallower it grows, the shallower it grows, the fainter we go into the deeper down. If we build all those bridges, don't watch them thin down to dust, or blow them voluntarily out of constant trust. The clock is ticking, it's last couple of clocks, and there won't be a party with the weather in front. The shallower it grows, the shallower it grows, the fainter we go into the fade out line. The shallower it grows, the shallower it grows, the fainter we go into the fade out line. Heading deep down, we're sliding without noticing our own decline. Heading deep down, we're hanging on to sweet nothing's left behind. Deeper down. Deeper down. Deeper down. Voluntarily out of constant trust. The clock is ticking, it's last couple of clocks, and there won't be a party with the weather in front. If we build all those bridges, don't watch them thin down to dust, or blow them voluntarily out of constant trust. The clock is ticking, it's last couple of clocks, and there won't be a party with the weather in front. The shallower it grows, the shallower it grows, the fainter we go into the fade out line. The shallower it grows, the shallower it grows, the fainter we go into the fade out line. We are all plunging straight towards our own decline. Without noticing, we slide down, deeper down. The shadow grows without ever slowing down. We are heading straight into the fade out line. Deeper down.
If you wanna believe I say this? Been on my mind for ages. Couldn't think of a better time. Tonight, you know how far I'd go. Pick an island and I'll start to roll. These little words brought about a smile. And tonight, I've got to be honest. Talking with my heart. Do you know you are beautiful? Beautiful. You are beautiful. The what is, the what else? Your weakness is my weakness, and your strength is my strength. And I try to make it better. Beautiful. You are beautiful. My thumb against your lower lip feels as natural as the ocean is. There's more to you than what meets the eye. But tonight, I've got to be honest. Talking with my heart. Do you know you are beautiful? Beautiful. You are beautiful. The what is, the what else? Your weakness is my weakness, and your strength is my strength. And I'll try to make it better. Beautiful. You are beautiful.
Thank you, everyone. It was The Avener with all my friends, Manu Lanvin and Fred Only at the guitar. So thank you for watching and have a nice evening. The race is not finished yet. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you to the Avenir and his colleagues for entertaining us. In the words of Le Mans racer and sports car ace David Heinemeier Hansen, despite myself, I can't help enjoying this. And there's a few on Twitter who've been breaking out the virtual glow sticks and throwing shapes. Bit of dad dancing going on here in the studio as well. Welcome back to live commentary from now for 15 hours and more than 19 minutes until and beyond the end of this 24 hours of Le Mans Virtual. I'm Martin Haven, with me in the studio, Chris McCarthy, as we've sent some of our colleagues away for a bit of a kip, but fear not, the race continues, the pictures continue, and the commentary continues as well. So let's bring you up to speed. Your leaderboard on the left-hand side, car number 20, Team Redline, that is the one that will have drawn in, if not hundreds of thousands, many hundreds of thousands of non-specific racing fans who have become fans of Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. It is Max Verstappen who is at the wheel of that car right now, leading by 9 seconds from Jack Aitken in Rebellion Williams car number 13, and Raffaele Marciello for Rebellion Williams, the number 1 car. Ollie Rowland for 2Cs Motorsport, another real-world racer who has turned sim star in this lockdown. He's 4th in the number 33 car. Our pole sitter, Tom Dillman, in the number 4 by Collers Burst Esport car, he's in 5th. And in the number 24 car from Veloce Esports, in 6th position, for the first time in the race, I think, in the number 24 car, is Jarmo Opmeer, the Dutch driver in that car. He is just ahead of the battle between Nico Schama, and Jenson Button, who is now up in the top 10 in the Team Rocket Zansport car. And Chris, as ever, in the real world and the virtual world, identifying which set of headlights is which set of headlights in the dark is going to be the fun for the next 8 hours, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be very fun. Who chose us to do this part of the race? But, you know, it's always fantastic. I got to go to Le Mans for the first time last year. One thing I did do is I missed the start of the race because I wanted to see the cars going round in the evening. And it is a fantastic experience to sit by Tertre Rouge and see them come down the curves and then through Tertre Rouge and onto the Mulsanne straight like we're looking at now. And there is just something about watching the cars at night at Le Mans which is gives you the real atmosphere of the event.
Pro tip for fans, you don't have to miss the start to see them coming down the Mulsanne straight at night.
I had just commentated on a 24-hour race.
There you go. So he did have mitigating circumstances, but it is not either or. If you've never been to Le Mans and if you think, yeah, what's the big deal? Okay, in the words of Paul Frère, who was a Belgian journalist who started in the 1950s and who died just a couple of years ago in his 80s, Paul Frère was a racing driver and a journalist. In fact, he was a journalist first, but he was such a good racing driver that he finished on the Formula One podium at Spa for Ferrari and won Le Mans outright. That's how good a racing driver he was as a journalist. Paul Frère, for my money, had the greatest description of Le Mans, and he said, Le Mans is a week-long holiday with friends, or like-minded friends, at the end of which they hold a motor race. And for me, I've been going since 1983, and that's exactly what it is. You find yourself somewhere in a field of France with 250,000 people who have one thing in common with you, wherever they come from, and that is they are motor racing nuts, and particularly they are sports car racing nuts. Beer, barbecue, tent, you know, body odor, all the rest of it goes together. Exhaustion, fatigue, and that's just the fans, never mind the teams. It is a mammoth endurance race for everybody involved. But oh boy, once you've been, you want to go back again, and that's what happened to Dr. Ullrich. He went once as a fan, and look what happened when the boss of Audi Motorsport went to Le Mans for a boys' weekend as a fan, a dominating 15-year period in the race's history. So it does get you, and there's a really good reason why it does.
It's a real festival experience, and one of the fascinating things about Le Mans, for people who just love the sound of cars going around, let alone watching them, you can be sat there having a beer with all your friends. You don't have to be watching the track. You're not going to watch it for 24 hours, let's be honest. You can go around and enjoy, for example, the concerts that are on, or you can just sit there and have a beer and listen to the cars going round throughout the night. And that was one of the best parts for me of being at Le Mans. I remember sat there with a load of friends having a beer, and guess what, the cars are still going round in the background, and they're not going to stop for you because they're doing that for 24 hours. So once you finish your beer, then you can go and watch them again.
Yeah, and whatever time you pass out and whatever time you wake up again, they're still at it, and they'll still be at it until after tomorrow lunchtime. So it is, it's a remarkable thing to go to. If you ever get half an opportunity, I cannot advise you strongly enough. Even if you just rattle down on a Friday for the weekend, go with no sleep and come back to work on Monday morning, which is what I did for the first few years, it's so worth it. Well, you've just seen both of our class leaders. There are two classes here, and this is quite unusual in modern Le Mans racing. Normally we have LMP1 and LMP2, the prototype cars, the purpose-built racers, and then in the supercar class, the GT class, we normally have a full pro field and a Pro-Am field, GTE Am, but this time we've got LMP2 as our prototype cars exclusively, so everybody's in the same Oreca chassis. There's no variation in chassis. They've all got the same engine, they've all got the same tyre, so it is almost a spec category. So it is the team and driver combinations that are going to make the difference here. And in the GTE class, we've got Aston Martin Racing, we've got Ferrari, the factory team, we've got Porsche's factory team, we've got Corvette's factory team in a four-manufacturer battle of the Titans. And by the way, just to make you all feel even hungrier at whatever time of the day or night it is, just seen on Twitter, Aston Martin Racing in Banbury at the ProDrive base, fish and chips are arriving. Now, Chris, you know, that makes me want to leave immediately and run and try and find a chippy, but in the heart of Paris, I don't think we have much chance, so we better stay where we are and see what we're doing.
Well, we haven't been fed too badly here either. It's great to have, like you said it before, the FIA WEC catering team are here to feed the troops throughout this event, which has been fantastic and gave the real team feel to this event. Not only are all the normal drivers we would usually see at Le Mans on the track, but off it, the familiar faces as well. Yeah,
a lot of the regular production team from the boss, Gerard Neveu, who has put this whole thing together with his team, getting the grid together, getting the teams and the drivers involved, getting the series sponsors to fund the TV production so they could give it to the broadcasters and put it free online. So to try and get as many people as excited by this thing as we are, who are the dedicated nutters. And the visual look of it is so close. You're fractions away. I was just reading a comment on Twitter a little while ago saying, I never thought the Matrix would become real with motor racing, but this is the way it is. And the racing is so involving. You know, they're not real cars, but the racing is as real, and the drivers are as real, whether they're from the sim side of the fence or from the racing world side of the fence. The passion is so evident in the drivers, in the teams, in the preparation that they have got into. In fact, following on from the Make You Hungry courtesy of Aston Martin Racing, Simon Strang has just texted me saying Brabs, that's Brabham, David Brabham has just turned up with brownies. So there's dessert sorted as well. Oh my Lord. All right, so let's turn our attention to the race then. We're trying to, again, pick out which battles we're looking at down the field. Max Verstappen leading by 12.5 seconds from Jack Aitken. Raffaele Marciello third in the second of the Williams cars. And you're looking there at the number 13 car. So the illuminated lights on the side in blue colours, that's the position in LMP2. And in the green colours, that'll be the position of the car, not the number of the car, in GTE. So these two cars you can see nose to tail. That is a battle for position. As you can see from the screen, the 0-1 car in third is just a car length behind. Yeah, this is the battle for second. And one thing I did just want to point out is Oliver Rowland is only 2 seconds behind this. You'll be able to see him in the background as well. He's in the 2Cs Motorsport car. He's been hugely impressive in this race so far, as he has been in esports in general over the last few weeks. But we go on board here with Raffaele Marciello as he's going to try and look to the inside going into Indianapolis, and there goes the move. And that's going to be second place. No surprise not to see Jack Aitken not fighting that one too hard. That is Rebellion car on Rebellion car, and that is Marciello up to second. Well, that's blue on blue, isn't it? So he's got you have to be careful. You know, if you don't beat your teammate, you'll never win the race. But when you are in the same team, in the same car, going for the same bit of tarmac, we've still got 2/3 of the race to go, give or take an hour, so you've got to have patience. Making mistakes in traffic will ruin your race in a heartbeat, and you can't do that with so long to go. So much about Le Mans is now as it was in 1923. Don't make silly mistakes, don't break the car, and predominantly, in the words of the great Doc Hudson, stay on the grey stuff, son. That's what it's there for. Well, as you know, Martin, you know, the race is not over for Jack Aitken. Why try and defend that position? Why try and fight Raffaele Marciello too hard? As you said, there's still 15 hours in this race to go. So strategy-wise, you could be coming back into play and doing the exact same thing what Marciello's just did to Aitken in 14 hours' time. And look at the way that Marciello is driving this car. Out of the Ford chicane, he was in the gravel. He was sliding there into the Dunlop curve. That car is not going to survive, or those tyres are not going to survive that sort of abuse for another 15 hours. There's driving fast, and there's just over-driving, and I think Raffaele is on that knife edge between over-driving the car and just getting the maximum out of it. And that's tough. That is, in all of racing, that is the toughest balance. Right on the edge and over the edge is a whisker away.
I mean, Raffaele Marcello, he has a lot of endurance racing experience over the last couple of years. So, you know, he's won the Blancpain GT and the FIGT World Cup Championships as Raffaele Marcello. So he knows what he's doing in endurance racing. But clearly, you know, they're on discord to each other, the drivers and the engineers as well. This might be an instruction, Martin. This might be an instruction for the team to say, right, let's try and push as hard as we can in this stint and try and get a gap over Aitken, or more importantly, reduce that gap to Max Verstappen in the Team Redline car. And they may be saying to Jack Aitken, we're on the complete opposite strategy. You're just going to take your time and wait for a little bit later in the race.
Quick shout out to MotoGP's Susie Perry and all the other Wolverhampton Wanderers fans looking there at the Gulf Racing Wolves sponsored car. Wolverhampton Wanderers, for those of you who aren't British football fans, is a Midlands-based football team based in the town, perhaps unsurprisingly, of Wolverhampton, just outside of Birmingham. Or Birmingham would be just outside of Wolverhampton, they would say. So Wolverhampton Wanderers, their first venture into esports as racing, sponsoring this Gulf Racing team. And again, not quite sure where that link came from. Your sponsor is always somebody who somebody you know knows. So it's either a fan thing or something within the team, somebody within the team or the drivers is a bit of a Wolves fan. But that car, the 86 car, rising up the order. They're now up to 7th position. Ben Barker started the car. He's a regular driver for Gulf Racing in World Endurance and at Le Mans. Had a bit of a spin in one of his early stints. But the car now rising back up the order. So they're starting to get the bit between their teeth. They got their Sim Pro, one of their 2 Sim Pros in the car at the moment, and that's Adam Maguire, the Irish driver. And so Ben Barker and Andrew Watson are the 2 regular race drivers who are sharing that car with them. And up and out and heading towards the top half dozen. How far back is he? His target is Tommy Milner in the number 64 factory Corvette. Oh, rattled it over the curbs there. It always looks really uncomfortable, but that apparently is the approved line exiting the Ford chicane for all these cars, just to hit that big sausage nice and hard.
Adam Maguire, very experienced driver. He's had 119 wins in 688 races over 10 years. So he's got a pretty good win-to-loss ratio there. One thing I would say about Gulf Racing and the Wolverhampton Wanderers tie, of course, the Premier League restarts again next week, and Wolves are competing in the Europa League this year as well. So there is a European connection there, and perhaps that was the choice for Wolves to get involved in this fantastic event.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly what part of this season or last season as it is now when this season continues. I don't know.
It's late.
quite where the Premiership football calendar is, and whether any of the Wolves management or players actually get to come to Le Mans, and whether that's a deal that might continue through Le Mans, who knows. Meanwhile, back with our Rebellion Williams battle. Battle is joined again between the number 1 and number 13 car, it looks like.
Yeah, it's still going off, isn't it? I tell you what, we've got Jack Aitken. I think this might be Jack Aitken versus right. Oliver Rowland. So
exactly.
Yeah, Rowland is closing. I would say Rowland closing the gap. Aitken is falling away because Raffaele Marcello has closed the gap to Verstappen to 10.7 seconds. So that's come down by 3 seconds, Martin, very, very quickly. And Rowland, I'd say, lining up a move now on Jack Aitken here.
Yeah, Ollie Rowland has been really sensational in this car. Very quick real-world driver, becomes very, very quick sim racing driver. And again, Jack Aitken struggling in terms either of traction or speed. I wonder, is there any chance they might have double stinted some tyres with Jack Aitken and he's starting to run out of grip? Not many of the teams that we've talked to have seen any mileage in double stinting. Ollie Rowland had a run on him then, but Aitken on the inside line, just braking as deep as he dared. So not much wrong with the car on the brakes, but Rowland has got top speed on him, hasn't he? So that's either traction off the chicane and out of Tertre Rouge, or is it a top speed advantage? He gets yay close, and then into Mulsanne corner again. He can't complete it. So maybe it's not a top speed thing. Maybe it is a getting the car fired off the corner thing that Ollie Rowland has got.
Well, we were on board with Rowland coming out of the second Mulsanne chicane, and we saw Jack Aitken was using all the runoff and a little bit more, so he's definitely struggling for grip out the corners, which is going to be down to the rear tyres. So Aitken, I'd say, must have tried, is either pushed too hard on those tyres, as we see Rowland now going around the outside, and he'll go through. But yeah, I'd say Aitken just struggling a little bit with the rear tyres. He must have worn them out a little bit too much.
Yeah, that was a huge move from Jack Aitken. Here's number 50 car that went off a little earlier. This is Richard Mille's team, all-female crew. Richard has been in the studio with us this weekend. And who's in the 50 car at the moment? As it turns around, it's Catherine Legg, who incurred a penalty earlier. She spun at the chicane, first chicane, second chicane on Mulsanne Straight, and rejoined in what she thought was the end of a queue of GT cars, but in fact it wasn't. It was a gap in the middle of a queue of GT cars, and tagged one of the Corvettes out of the race. Look at the way the car is sliding around under Ollie Rowland. You know, that would be near terminal in the real world, but these LMP2 cars in R-Factor 2 will take that kind of driving abuse just about.
Yeah, some drivers prefer that driving style. I'll refer back to my time in karting, where I used to love a loose rear end on my car, and that's how I used to drive quicker. And some people would getting a setup like that and would just spin straight away. And that's the same. The drivers will take any setup they can to go as fast as possible, and that will usually be a slightly looser car. Clearly, Oliver Rowland is comfortable with that. Some of the other professionals may not be so much due to perhaps racing in single-seaters, for example. But Oliver Rowland definitely pushing very hard, and he's happy running that car a little bit loose.
On board in the number 7 Toyota Gazoo Racing entry, Toyota entering 2 cars, although of course normally they would be in the LMP1 hybrid class. They're in LMP2 with everybody else. Mike Conway in his first official race as a esports driver, as a sim racing driver. He's taken part in the practicing races that have led up to the race, but he has not actually partaken in a genuine sim race before now. So this car was started by Jose Maria Lopez, and Lopez had a really good run early on. He's another one of the drivers that has really got great pace in the real world and in the sim racing world. Mike Conway, I'm sure by his own admission, is the slowest of the 4 in the car, and both Toyota lineups, the maximum you're allowed in your team of 4 drivers is 2 sim race pros, so that you don't have an all sim race team that are near invincible. Toyota have gone for 3 real world drivers and a sim pro, and their thinking is this is going to be great for getting our team back together, getting them back to working as a team. Whether we win this or we don't, the more important thing is to actually get everybody working as a team, building up to Le Mans in September. So they've gone with 3 real world drivers. And in the end, actually, a bit like Penske, I think it's going a little better than they maybe thought it